Today I'm going to talk about the night I was arrested and the events of that night in full detail and why it took 10 hours. So they arrived at my home, 4 police officers, all with guns, all with cars, 4 cars, 4 police officers. One FDLE officer by the name of Officer Negrinelli. No matter what I say for the rest of this video, Officer Negrinelli was a good man. The rest of the cops, I have no use for. But Officer Negrinelli was a good man who didn't do anything terrible. So I want to put that on the record. All right, 7:45 at night, door knocks. I open the door. There are 4 police officers standing there. And they say, "We have a warrant for your arrest from Colorado." I immediately start to panic. I let them in. And I go, what's going to happen? They say, "We're going to take you into custody now." I asked for permission to put my storm shutters down. I had to get dressed. So I was only wearing a robe. So the one officer said, "Do you have any guns in the house?" And I said, "Yes, on my nightstand." So he went into my bedroom and got the gun out. And then they allowed me to go into my bedroom, keep the door open slightly, not terribly, but keep the door open and put clothes on. Then I came outside, out into the living room, lowered my blinds, and I asked them for permission to sit down for a minute because I was having a panic attack and I was all flush and getting nauseous and all that stuff. So I sat down for a second and then they got me up and put handcuffs on me. The very second that you are in the custody of police, everything changes. I always thought cops were the good guys. I always did. I always believed that, as a conservative, that cops were the good guys. You ever watch someone get arrested and as they're being taken out to the car, they yank their arm away and start complaining about the pain? I know why they do it now. So as we're walking out to the car and my hands are cuffed and I am not resisting in any way, shape, or form, the Cape Coral police officer, who is at least a foot taller than me, has jet black hair. He might have been a little bit Asian. I don't know because I don't try to figure out what people's composition is. But he might have been. Tall, jet black hair. Walking me out to his cruiser. And he starts to squeeze my arm and harder and harder and harder as we're walking out. And I look up at him and he's smiling. And instantly in my head, replays of people being arrested and they go, "Ow, you're hurting me." And he says, "Stop resisting." And then he gets to, pull them in tighter and complain. I realized he was squeezing my arm to get me to react. I didn't give him that reaction. I knew exactly what he was doing. When they put me in the back of the cruiser, they didn't tell me that seats are hard plastic. That hurt like hell. But I looked at him and I said, "I need air. I need air so bad. I'm so sick right now." He refused me air. In the car, as we're driving, I keep telling him, "I need air. I need air." And he says, "Sorry, these cars aren't set up for air conditioning in the back." We live in Southwest Florida. They arrest people in 100-degree weather. Are you telling me that cop cars in Southwest Florida are set up to torture the people that are in the back of them? Is that what you're telling me? By the time we got to the police station, I was so sick, the nurse refused to take me. And they took me to the hospital next. They expected me to know what was wrong with me. I was not sure. I said, "I don't know if it's my stomach. I don't know. I was sick. I was having a panic attack, what was happening. I was having a pretty severe panic attack and I didn't know it." So 3 hours at the hospital. By midnight, we were back at the jail, and Officer Negrinelli was trying to process me into the jail, but he didn't have his authorization code. And it took 3 hours for him to get his authorization code. Why? Because the FDLE does not pick up people on warrants in the dark of night. their administration offices are not open and they cannot get the things they need from them. But they came and got me in the dark of night. As we were waiting there for those 3 hours, Officer Negrinelli looked at me and he said, I got to tell you something. I said, what? He said, I just looked up at your charges. I said, yeah? And he said, I don't understand what is happening here. I do not get called out to arrest people at this hour of night on charges that are this weak. It doesn't happen. I don't understand what's happening here. He said, I got a pretty good idea what's happening here. I got a pretty good idea. It's political. I was in handcuffs from midnight to 3 o'clock behind my back. Ouch, that still hurts. Just trying to put my arm back there. For 3 hours while Officer Negrinelli found his authorization code, because policy states that the officer transferring the person has to keep them in handcuffs. So because policy stated it, I had to suffer. It hurt like you would not believe. But because policy states it, I had to suffer. And that's what jail is. A bunch of policies where human beings are made to suffer, like extradition. Somebody on my last video said, well, that's standard procedure for extraditing people. 1, they should be charges worthy of extraditing someone for. 2, holding someone for 30 days so a bunch of paper pushers can take their time doing what they're supposed to do, taking away someone's life for 30 days, that's just criminal, and that needs to be changed in our system today. Today. If someone is dangerous enough that you need to take them off of the streets, you better get them to where they be. 30 days you have to push paper around while someone sits in a jail cell with no justice whatsoever. That's insanity. Okay, so 3 o'clock in the morning, I get finally handed over to the Lee County Jail. The next 2 hours wasn't terrible. It was just processing. And literally, the people in the processing department weren't terrible. Intake wasn't terrible. Next thing that happened was, I don't know what time in the morning it was, 7, 8. They put me before a judge on a screen. And they had a public defender. This was probably about 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh, no, 8 o'clock in the morning now. They took my mugshot at 5 o'clock in the morning. And then they put me before the judge, and I really have no idea what time that was, because I'd been up for well over 24 hours at that point. And so I go before the judge, and he starts rattling things off that I don't know what's going on. But then all of a sudden I hear this voice, and the voice is the public defender. I don't get to see the guy. I don't get to talk to the guy privately. I get no instructions from him or explanation from him. Nothing. I am standing before a judge, and the public defender is telling me, you have to do this. Sign the extradition warrant. They bullied me into signing it. Told me that if I didn't sign it, the judge would keep me into jail for 30 days, and none of it would count. And I was just straight bullying by the public defender in front of the judge. I was not explained a freaking thing. When that was done, I said, okay, what happens now? And they said, oh, you're going to jail for 30 days. I had no idea, even after the first hearing, that I was not getting out of jail. I literally had no idea, because no one said a freaking word to me. No one explained a thing to me. It was like walking around like a zombie, just being pulled from one place to another by other human beings, and you had no say in what was happening to you. You just became a piece of cargo, an animal.